We'll turn our attention to Sean Combs, where this afternoon we expect the music mogul to be back in court for a bond hearing. That is set at 3:30 this afternoon in Manhattan. Combs pled not guilty on Tuesday to federal sex trafficking and racketeering charges. An indictment says he, quote, engaged in a persistent and pervasive pattern of abuse towards women and other individuals. He was arrested earlier this week, months after federal authorities raided his homes in Los Angeles and Miami. And over the past year, he's been sued by many people who say he subjected them to physical and sexual abuse. He's denied all of these and many of these allegations. Yesterday afternoon, U.S. Attorney Damian Williams spoke out to the media and talked about the charges against Combs during a news conference. It was very specific at times. Let's take a listen to some of the highlights of that, and then we'll talk about Combs' chances at bail.
The indictment alleges that between at least 2008 and the present, Combs abused, threatened, and coerced victims to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct. As alleged in the indictment, to carry out this conduct, Sean Combs led and participated in a racketeering conspiracy that used the business empire he controlled to carry out criminal activity, including sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and the obstruction of justice. As alleged, Combs used force, threats of force, and coercion to cause victims to engage in extended sexual performances with male commercial sex workers, some of whom he transported or caused to be transported over state lines. Combs allegedly planned and controlled the sex performances, which he called freak-offs, and he often electronically recorded them. The freak-offs sometimes lasted days at a time, involved multiple commercial sex workers, and often involved a variety of narcotics, such as ketamine, ecstasy, and GHB, which Combs distributed to the victims to keep them obedient and compliant. As alleged, when Combs didn't get his way, he was violent, and he subjected victims to physical, emotional, and verbal abuse so that they would participate in the freak-offs, and that Combs hit, kicked, threw objects at, and dragged victims, at times by their hair. In addition to the violence, the indictment alleges that Combs threatened and coerced victims to get them to participate in the freak-offs. He used the embarrassing and sensitive recordings he made of the freak-offs as collateral against the victims. And the indictment alleges that he maintained control over the victims in several ways, including by giving them drugs, by giving and threatening to take away financial support or housing, by promising them career opportunities, by monitoring their whereabouts, and even by dictating their physical appearance. As I mentioned, Combs has been charged with RICO conspiracy. He used his business and employees of that business and other close associates to get his way. Those individuals allegedly included high-ranking supervisors in the business, personal assistants, security staff, and household staff. The indictment alleges that those individuals facilitated the freak-offs. They booked the hotel rooms and stocked them with the supplies, including drugs, baby oil, personal lubricant, extra linens, and lighting. When the hotel rooms got damaged, they helped clean it up. They arranged for victims and commercial sex workers to travel for the freak-offs, and they delivered large quantities of cash to Combs to pay for the commercial sex workers.
Again, we're expecting Sean Combs back in court today. Yesterday, the judge said no to bail. The defense offered a $50 million up for bail. The judge sided with the federal government and said no bail at this time. And the defense has gone to another judge, and that is what we expect today to happen. 3:30, we'll have a producer in the courtroom. Krista Ramey, let's start with that. What are the odds of going to another judge to plead the same case you just pled yesterday? What are his odds, in your estimation, of having this judge agree to $50 million and letting him out pending trial?
Slim to none. Exactly what I think about that. You are an appeals judge is looking at this on an abuse of discretion standard. There is ample evidence that the judge has relied upon contained with the allegations within this indictment include charges of bribery and trying to extort or and trying to intimidate witnesses. And this is one of the reasons cited for not giving him bail. He has financial means. He has a lot of access to get himself overseas to a country that does not extradite to the U.S. The judge is concerned that he'll be gone in a minute. While Combs is cloaked in the presumption of innocence, as we say, he is also has some very serious charges to answer to. Bail is meant to make sure that he gives enough money that will, have him come back. His net worth far exceeds $50 million. And that is, peanuts for what he can afford to lose. So I think that the judge probably made the best decision, and I don't think an appeals court is going to disturb that.
The evidence against him that was outlined in the indictment is, there's a couple things that stand out. He had these freak-offs with all the lube and the baby oil. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, and it makes you cringe. But there's also video. When they serve these warrants, they say they have video there. And if you add you have a witness, and then you have video of that witness, and apparently there are multiple people that are going to testify, likely for the government. That's a pretty significant arsenal going to trial with, is it not, when you have not only someone getting up there and saying this is what happened, and it was, it was horrible, but then if they actually have video of these events, it's as stomach turning as it's going to be for this jury, it's also going to be very, very compelling in terms of evidence against Sean Combs.
Yeah, it's going to be very compelling evidence against Sean Combs, and a lot of it we know where it's coming from. It's coming from Cassie, and probably from some of the other complaints that were filed after her complaint was filed right about this time last year. And so you had this flood of lawsuits that were filed when there was a brief window of time opened in New York to allow for cases to be filed where the statutes of limitations had expired in sex abuse cases. All these people got their claims in, and I bet they are all cooperating witnesses with the government. I think a lot of people believed that sometime after Cassie's lawsuit was filed and settled very quickly by Combs, that a grand jury was very quickly indicted, impaneled at that time, and has been gathering evidence ever since. And so I suspect that all of these people that have filed these complaints against Combs are now cooperating witnesses. You probably also have cooperating co-conspirators that are unnamed in the indictment as well. This video evidence is going to be very damaging. He probably kept it for his own, gratification, I guess.
Well, we see that a lot, yeah, with the sex crimes. Or, it's like it's these they go back and watch them, I guess. If indeed the allegation is true that he was introducing drugs, ketamine, ecstasy, GHB is the date rape drug. I mean, GHB conks people out and is used to rape people. That's what you tell your college-age kids, watch your drinks, because that's what people are slipping in a lot of times, are roofies. To what extent does the drug part of it interact? Because you know what the defense is, a bunch of consenting adults that were experimenting with, just these crazy sex parties, but everybody was on board.
Yeah, I think that that's going to be problematic, particularly when you have, some of these people were his employees. There was one complaint that was filed for someone who was working on a boat, who was hired by a company that hired Sean Combs. These are people that are being forced to do things, whether it's by the use of drugs or otherwise. They're being coerced into doing things. They're being threatened into doing things. And so you have a level of coercion, and plus the drugs on top of it. The drugs eliminate the consent, let's be honest. So even if they're willingly doing cocaine or something other than GHB that wasn't slipped to them, they're willingly drunk, they cannot consent legally. So that obliterates the consent argument. And so that is going to be a very difficult hurdle as well. So I think that the government has some goods, and there's probably a lot of evidence that was gathered from his homes in LA here and in Miami that are going to substantiate all of it.
All right, we'll wait and see. Initially, what the first order of business is this bail hearing. Second one, basically an appeal of the original decision, that 3:30 Eastern time in Manhattan, and we do have a team there. So we'll let you know what happens. No cameras in the courtroom, of course, because it's federal court, but we'll let you know as soon as a decision is made there.